Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is with us now. Senator, good morning to you. I know it was a late night.
Morning.
Before we get to the substance of the speech, and we will, let's talk about this decisive change in the president's tone. To borrow another political phrase, is this a kinder, gentler Donald Trump? And do you buy it?
Not really, and the reason is very simple. With this president, more than any other, his speeches are detached from reality. In his campaign and even his inaugural speech, he talks to the working people of America. But for the last 40 days, his actions have been decidedly on the side of the special interests hurting working America. A few quick examples. Infrastructure. We haven't seen a plan. Democrats for a month have put a plan on the schedule, down on the ground, and he hasn't talked a thing about infrastructure. His advisors say maybe next year. Trade. He had a great example to do something on trade, not just talk about it. Called China a currency manipulator, which he said he'd do in his campaign the first day. Education, medical research, he talked touchingly about it. His budget is slashing them. And one more, the swamp. He's going to clean the swamp when he has a cabinet of billionaires and Wall Street and bankers.
Yeah, and that brought a
conflicts of interest.
That brought a groan from the crowd. Well, let me do this. So let me try to get us back on unity for a second. You know, you didn't find a lot of reasons to stand and cheer, but give me one thing the president said in that speech last night, Senator, where you found yourself saying, yes, I can join him and get behind him on that issue.
Well, Matt, here's the problem. He's given a whole lot of speeches, and we've seen that the speeches and the reality don't match. I'll say yes when he comes up with something that really helps working people and says, I want to work with Democrats. Here's my proposal.
So in an hour, you didn't hear one thing that you can stand behind this morning?
Look, I was touched by the mention of the widow of the brave soldier who died in Yemen and things like that. But no, it's hard to see any place where the president actually has done something for working people.
Senator,
a speech has a shelf life. People forgot his inaugural speech. He had 40 days, very difficult time, because he's not governing like his speeches. I predict the same thing is going to happen. This speech will be forgotten in a day or two. And where's the action? Where's the actual doing things to helping working people? That's what we want, and that's what we're waiting for.
Let's talk about immigration reform, a big issue. Yeah. He obviously campaigned on it. He signaled an openness to a compromise, and earlier in the day was reported to have said that perhaps even a pathway for undocumented immigrants to have legal status, something different than citizenship. I mean, would that be sufficient for you to get a deal done?
Well, again, we've been to this movie before. This is the third time in the last month he has mentioned he might be for some kind of immigration reform. And then a day later, his advisors, his base, made him pull it back. And it's so typical to the cosmopolitan, national reporters. He mentions this. And then his speech, his tone is totally anti-immigrant. This is what America's up against. A president who says one thing, but in reality just does another, and that's why his administration has such trouble.
Listening to all you're saying this morning, does it surprise you, Senator, that an overnight poll found that 7 in 10 Americans who watched that speech last night say they ended feeling more optimistic as opposed to less optimistic?
Well, as I said, speeches have a shelf life. Everyone's forgotten his inaugural speech, his promises and speeches in the campaign. He's got to actually do something, not for special interests, as he's been doing, but for working people. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, thanks for being with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Nice to talk to you.
By the way, we're going to hear from the other side. Vice President Mike Pence joining Lester in our next half hour.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.